Hello and welcome to this week's Devil in the Detail podcast. I'm Rob Parkin and I'm here talking all things. So for Devil's joining the show this week, as have we got Paul Parkin. How's your week been, mate?
Yeah, fairly quiet to be fair. We've done a bit more DIY around the house. I say we, less me, but I was here in spirit. So we've been doing that, sorting a few bits out. Last week the wife was away for a week, so that was odd. Just me and the dog all week. It was an interesting week. Not much conversation went on, but we kept each other sane. And so and just getting over. Obviously the win the week before, and then obviously the cup final this weekend. Got to watch that, and but it's hard having another week off without the Reds. It seems to be like quite a few breaks. I don't know why it feels like that, but it always seems to come after we've had a bit of a decent period. So, other than that, no real dramas, and we fight on for this week.
Yeah, had a week off. Obviously, no rugby was this, so went to Style, watched to an outside movie showing. Watched Wonka, the film. Watched Tina Turner in concert from about 80s, 90s, doing all the shaking and rolling on the river and all that jazz. And then watched Barbie. Quite a good turnout, really. Loads of stalls and that. So bit of a family day out for me on the Saturday Challenge Cup final day. Didn't watch the final, but it's that work-life family balance you've got to keep going.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about Barbie. I mean, it's not fortunately the family with you, because if you'd gone on your own, I would have been asking questions. But yeah, no Tina Turner. Yeah, big star in the day. Remember that in the 80s with the NRL in Australia, when she did all that, simply the best with them and walking around in a Balmain shirt and all that kind of stuff. Brilliant. Let's have a look how we promote our game over here, and they were doing it 30 years ago, 40 years ago. Brilliant. Big name. Yeah. She's a bit of a star. So yeah, that sounds like a decent day. I mean, I must admit, I just sat on my backside and watched rugby league. And then when that finished, it was a bit like, now what? So you probably had a fuller weekend than I did.
Yeah, put my pink cowboy hat back in the cupboard to be used again. Last time I used it was Steps in concert at the MEN. Pulled it out of there, blew off the dust, and said, "We'll go again, Parky. We'll go again."
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. You've not got tickets for Taylor Swift this week. You've not got them.
No. Taylor wants to know what we're doing. That's the difference.
I don't think she's going to be paying 300 quid to see us, is she?
So obviously pop-up podcast this one. So we're going to sort of touch on the results from our teams in the last couple of weeks. All the big news that broke over the last couple of weeks, a couple of days really. Parky, you're going to do Parky Predicts live. Excited about that?
Yeah, well, yeah. You know what? I mean, I must admit, I've had a week to think about all these fixtures and just didn't. And then you reminded me today, and I was like, oh my God. Right. So I've had a quick look. So these could be way off this week because I've not really prepped. But here's what I mean. Most weeks it's just a guess, but yeah, I'll do it live. Yeah, it'd be nerve wracking.
And then obviously look forward to the game against Warrington on Friday night. So what we'll do, we'll look back at the results for our teams in the last couple of weeks. So we'll start with Paul Rowley's team. They beat London 34-4 at the Salford Stadium. Parky, scruffy win for me. First half was dire, has to be said, but can't always play wonderful rugby every week. Sometimes you got to grind results out, and that is what we did. We managed to get enough in the tank towards the end of the game and came away with the 2 points.
Yeah, I think there's two ways of looking at it. I mean, that first half was instantly, even by the time I'd got my coffee at half time, I'd forgotten it had happened. It was dreadful to watch. But then it makes me think, was there a plan there from Rolls just to keep making them work, make them try and tire them out, like you say, and get them in the end? Because the one thing I've noticed from London is their game every week they're in it. They have a go, they'll have a crack, and they don't give up. And I think we needed to tire them out, to run them about a bit, and we did that in the first half. It wasn't great to watch. I mean, it was a real struggle for the diehards that were there. The 2,800 of us or whatever, which was very disappointing. But that's another podcast. But yeah, I thought at half time, this reminds me of the game down in London. It's the same thing. It was the same, and I thought, well, the second half in London, I know we won it. It was close, but when we'd lost King Buniawa to the red card and everything, it made it a little bit. But we had a plan. And I think it was to run away with it the last sort of 20 minutes or so. And so it proved this week, last week as it was. There were certainly signs in the second half of the Salford we know and love. There was a lot of pretty good tries, a lot of ball movement, keeping it alive. The two centres were devastating as ever. But yeah, less said about the first half. But I think there was a plan. I think it was just to tire them out, run them about, and get the job done in the end. And when you think about it, it's still a fair margin to win a game by in Super League these days. And there were still people moaning at the end. And but I don't really know what you want. You know what I mean? We beat them. We only just beat them down there. What was it? 12 points to something. And people were moaning. This week we beat them by 30 points, and people can't win with some. It's not champagne. It's about getting the 2 points. Just trying to stay in that top six. It's very, very tight and very difficult. And I think I predicted something like, I don't think you would have been far off.
I wasn't.
I think I predicted like 28-6 or something. Because I just didn't think we'd blow them away. Because London are you've got to give them some credit. I mean, they look good with the ball, certainly in that first half. They caused us a lot of problems. They've got a lot of decent players who I'd certainly look at if they do, unfortunately, step down from Super League next year. Try and bring into the squad. I can't imagine they're all on big money, so there's a possibility there. But I think I've got a lot of time for London. I think they play the game the right way. They're entertaining. They try and move the ball. It's none of this up the jumper stuff. And they tested us, but we came through it and we got the 2 points and a decent sort of points difference.
I wasn't too far off, like you said. 34. I said 34. I think I said 12, but London only scored 4. So I could the Nando's was drifting in, the smell of it, but not quite. Didn't quite land, but there's always next week. Like you said, was a scruffy win. I think this time of the season, really, Park, it's just about collecting them 2 points. It's not really about performance. I spoke to Chris Ninu last week, and I said to him, is it more about the wins and the performance? And he was like, well, no, performances are important. And I do see where he's coming from with that. But is it not a sign of a good side that you can be scruffy, play scruffy, but still win?
Well, absolutely say that. I don't think you can play badly and win. Imagine what you like when you're playing well. I get that, I suppose. But for me, it is about winning. It's about getting the 2 points. Doesn't matter at the end of the day if you win by 1 or 100. Most of the time, if we keep winning in the position we're in now, we'll finish in the top 6, and that's where we want to be. Like I said, there's a lot of things we can improve, but we've got to look at our squad. This is what people forget. So many players missing all the time, and then with the injuries we picked up during the game, there's incidents, things going on. It was scrappy. We didn't get into a flow until the second half. I think when we've got a full 17 out, our strongest, we're a really, really good side. But it only takes us to lose 2 or 3, and certainly in that pack, and we're going to struggle. And that's where we're at, unfortunately, and people have just got to get used to that. Again, remember, we are punching well above our weight. And I mean that in both ways, actually physically and, as what we spend. So, I wasn't, at the end of the day, it was about getting 2 points, and that's the way I see it every week. We go to Warrington on Friday night and play absolutely awful and win the game. Who's complaining? So, you can't have it both ways. I'm just happy to get the win.
Yeah. So obviously, me and Paul will give you the full rundown on that game in the next podcast. Moving on to our reserves, Stuart Wilkinson boys, 2 wins from 2. 2 wins in a row. 1 against London, 24-18, and 1 against Castleford away from home, 34 points to 18. Parker, 2 big wins.
Yeah, I mean, the first game against London, I think I texted you and Paul at the time. I was watching it on YouTube, and one thing that struck me was their pack. It was bigger than our first team pack. They were a big set of lads. And I said the week before about London, about their youth system and the fact that they've got 8 million people in that area. Not everybody's going to play football. Not everybody's going to play basketball. They're not going to get. You're going to get athletes who are going to convert to rugby league, who are going to get a chance, and they get to pick the best of them, others, if you like. And they turned up and they gave us a real fight, a real scrap. It was a good game to watch. Some really good play. But what I will say is how our players muscled up against the pack. When you saw our biggest player being towered over by theirs, you were thinking, we're going to get crushed here. It's men against boys. And for much of the game, London were in the lead. They were, they had a decent team out, but our boys stuck at it and came through. And it was quite, it was a good game. It was well worth watching. And again, it's what it's about. It's about winning. And they come through a game there where I think if they'd have let London get away from a little bit, we could have got steamrolled. But we stuck at it and played really well and got the win in the end.
Yeah, obviously, standout players for you. Obviously, Kai Morgan, playing really well. We talked about Connell as well in the last couple of games. They've got some good players in that reserves players. Cooper and Franklin as well.
Yeah. Well, I was going to mention Cooper Franklin. I thought he was excellent. But yeah, I think I've got the team from Friday, but not the one from the week before. But Kai Morgan and Jack Stevens at halfback that game against London. I mean, Jack Stevens set a try up that if Rangi Chase had done it a few years ago, people would have been screaming about it. It was that good. He just skipped through players, then a little offload, and we went under the post. Kai Morgan, I'm not sure. For a club like Leeds, who are in, I don't know, I'm not going to say they're in trouble, but they seem to, be going backwards a little bit at the moment, bringing players through. This kid was the captain of their academy. For some reason, he's playing in our reserves now rather than in theirs. I don't understand what they were thinking. He's a magnificent young player. He's got a big future, really has. At the moment, he's unlucky that Sneed is, not unlucky for us, but in great form and not injured. Because I think he's ready. I really do. I think he's brilliant. And again, Friday night away at Cass, I think it was Friday, was it? I can't remember now. His kicking game. Oh my God. To set up tries, his technical kicking, his little chips over the top. He's got the brains of a real quality halfback. And again, I thought he was excellent. I thought the young lad in the second row, is it McCurry?
McCurry, yeah.
Yeah, I thought he was outstanding. Only a young lad, but really good. Kept going, really strong. And Cooper Franklin again. And on that wing against Cass, that side, I'm just looking at the names here. Fitzgerald, who I think got a hat-trick, and Cooper Franklin. That partnership on that edge it's a joy to watch. It really is. The way they combine with each other, it's like they've played together forever. So yeah, two big results. And again, players are getting moved about. Obviously, the week before Connell came into the first team. This week they had Connell back in there. King Vuniawa played against Cass because he was, trying to get back to fitness. Wilson, who we got from Wigan, was in there. Hopefully this, in the next week or so, we might see the new lad from Australia probably get a run out in the reserves before he's ready for first team action. So it's good to see that, these players are now coming through and we've got a lot of potential in there. So 2 great results and, winning away at Cass is never easy for any team. And we made it look relatively easy. I think at one point, went down to 11 men, by the way.
Right.
So that shows, the attitude of these lads. We haven't gone. And that's another thing. Cass came back into it and we had 11 men. Scored a try. I think it was 30-odd, 18. And we got a penalty about 20 yards from their line. And rather than tapping it like you would do, think, right, we'll get a roll. Kai Morgan took the ball and went, we're taking the 2. We're killing the game. While we got players off the park, great thinking. No panic. Banged it over. And that just took the game away from anyway. So, yeah, really exciting times for our reserves.
Yeah, and obviously with the news about the academy, getting a better grade now, and approaching the ability to approach better players. It allows the reserve team to grow, because you'll be importing more players and everyone will have to raise the game then. So Stuart Wilkinson will be rubbing his hands now.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you mentioned Stu there. I listened to him being interviewed after the game. And I've said to you, I bet he's the kind of guy that I could listen to all day long. His knowledge of rugby league, I'm not talking about his general knowledge about rugby league. If you asked him who won the Challenge Cup in 1958, I'm not. His actual knowledge of how the game's played, the inside little tips he gives you, I love that about it. We are so lucky to have him as a on the staff anywhere. He could easily help out with the first team because his knowledge is that good. But he's passing on all that to these young lads now. The likes of Kai Morgan, who the next step for them is and he'll help them do all this. He's a magnificent coach and a great sort of mentor, I would have thought, behind the scenes. That don't think we give credit to these people who do all this behind the scenes. And Stu's one of them that's. I think he keeps his head down and out of the limelight, but he deserves a lot of praise for what he does. Especially again, like you say at the moment, without having the elite academy, he's got kids realistically playing reserve grade rugby sometimes against regular first teamers, and he's getting stuff out of them. We said last year about the learning curve for a lot of these lads, and you can see the development already. And I think a lot of that goes down to Stuart Wilkinson.
And also the fact with the elite academy, we talk about the DNA and playing the Salford way, and he can be the guy who molds that. Not just him, he'll have other people on the coaching staff who all have the same vision. He obviously liaises with Paul Rowley and Kurt Agate, and they have a style of play that they want everyone to play. So having him in that role, he's a top coach. He's got great experience at all levels of the game, and have him in our club in that role is massively important, going forward for me.
Yeah, without doubt. And again, if we could bring in, I don't know who's going to coach the academy next year and that kind of thing when it comes through, but he'll be a mentor to them as well. So that coach, any young coach coming through could sit down with him for a few hours, pick his brains, because he'll know it all and how to get the best out of these kids. I mean, you could see that DNA, by the way, because as I keep mentioning with Kai Morgan, that kicking game, the last week against London, we saw it. I think we scored 3 tries at least from kicks, and it was the same, and they were the same kicks, and you can see where it's coming through. So it's brilliant that this is carrying on now, and we have a style, we have that's the Salford way, and that's what we love. Salford, I think we're known in rugby league, not just through the last few years, but throughout a long time, that we're a team that likes to play with the ball. We don't always get the best results. We've not always been the best team, but we'll try and entertain. Even from when I going back to the 80s when we were brilliant, but we had players who could play the game and had clever lads. And I think that's the same now. And it's good to see that it's going to come through. Hopefully, right the way through the club now. And the next 10 years, who knows? We could be the next sort of Leeds from the Maguire time and that sort of thing, where they brought all these players through and it just clicked, and then it was grand final after grand final. That could be the next step.
Exciting times for the reserves. Also, our ladies were in action. They were victorious. They beat Dewsbury Moor 14 points to 12. Tries from Grace Ray, Marie Lee Keller and Michelle Davis. 1 goal from Sam Evans was enough for Mike Grady's ladies to secure the win in a tough contest. Parkin, obviously, Dewsbury Moor are a good side. Great structure at the club. We talked about the pathway which we're trying to build. Theirs is set up and doing really well. And I thought our ladies were fantastic. Michelle Davis, Alex Simpson, to name 2, were sensational. But it's a team effort. Everyone put a shift in, and obviously we're up to joint 4th at the moment in the championship. So we are in the mixer, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I was surprised the week before when you mentioned about Dewsbury Moor being as good as they were, and I think they were up there unbeaten, weren't they, or something? Or they were certainly that way. It was always going to be a tough game, but that shows how far the girls have come as well now. Start of the year again in the Challenge Cup, it was always difficult against Super League teams, and we got taught a bit of a lesson. Every week they seem to improve and they get better, and to come through tough games like that shows a lot of sort of mental strength, as well as the quality that we have got. And we are, again, I know we said it a lot, but we are still a new team, and it will take a long time for us to bed in and get players to know the combinations and that sort of thing. So yeah, a great result for them. I don't know when they play again now. I'm not sure, but it's
weeks, I think.
It seems to be very erratic at the moment as to when they play and when they don't. But they need a good run of games to get that togetherness. But again, they're climbing the table, and who knows? A good run now to the end of the season. We could well be up, like you say, well in the mix for the playoffs, and who knows, promotion.
Yeah. I spoke to Mike Grady on the previous pop-up, and he spoke about how the trials are going, and I think he had 12 ladies in the process at the moment. Obviously, we talk about the squad and bringing new faces in, fresh faces in. This time of the season will be a big boost for him and his ladies when you've got the playoffs coming up. When everybody's fit and everyone's firing, you'll be a wonderful squad to pick from there.
Yeah, we said they needed more players. That was going to be a problem. You get injuries, and say some of the girls just aren't available for certain games, and we turned up at one game with 15 players. Yeah, it's always going to be a struggle. But I was delighted with the result, and I think like I said, 12. Hopefully, 12 players in the process of coming through. How many get to stay? I don't know, but that'll be a massive boost for the whole squad. And hopefully it just proves that, who knows, might have two teams, might have a reserve team next year if we can keep recruiting at them levels. But yeah, it all looks good. And last weekend we had 3 straight wins, men's, women's, and reserves. And this week we've got another win with the reserves. It's been a good couple of weeks.
Yeah, good times for Salford Devils. Everybody's winning. And that's what happens when you get the culture, Parkin, playing the Salford way. We're winning games. Everyone's happy.
Yeah. Well, it makes a change because we've had a few weeks, haven't we, when it's been a bit dour. So let's enjoy this for now, and then let's see how we crack on.
Yeah. So that's our brief look back at all the matches. Obviously, like I say, in the next pop-up, we'll go through the ins and outs of each game. So now we'll see what's happening in the world of Salford Devils. So, Parker, the big news is Ian Blease has left. He's joined Leeds Rhinos as Director of Football, a 20-year association with Salford Red Devils, ex-Folly Lane, 272 appearances for the Red Devils, including 2 second division championships as captain, Lancashire Cups. He was appointed Director of Rugby at Salford in 2016 and led us to a grand final in 2019 and a Challenge Cup final in 2020.
Yeah, I read that statement. I was a bit blown away when they said, and he said it himself, he had a 20-year, I think it's 40 years. He was playing in the early 80s for us. So I'm not sure. I think everybody got that one wrong because he definitely came in the 80s. He doesn't know himself, but he definitely played through the 80s and into the 90s. And then I know he left the club for a bit, obviously, and he carried on with his normal career. Then I think he became an agent for a while, didn't he? And then he obviously joined the club, and that explains how he's done such an amazing job at bringing in some. How do I put it? I mean, yeah, not every signing works, but he's been instrumental in bringing in some of the best players that we've seen. Obviously, him and Jacko became really close friends. He got him over here, and obviously Joey Lussick with him. Brodie Croft, he managed to negotiate a deal with Brisbane where they pay his wages or a lot of his wages, and we get him to play for us. And became man of steel, a bit like Jacko. Listen, Bleasy's done an amazing job. Absolutely brilliant. Nothing but total respect for the man when he was playing for us. And now, the job he's done as sort of director of rugby, if you like. On a very limited budget, he's managed to bring in some really, really good players. I mean, you look at the squad we've got now, the likes of Laffey, McDonald, and people like that. He's obviously had a big part in bringing him in. Mark Sneed coming back from Hull. I think it can't be overlooked that the success we've had, and we are, I'm the first to sing Paul Rowley's praises, but a lot of it will go down to the work that Ian Blease did. It's a massive shame. I think it's a big loss. And whoever comes in to take his role has got a big job ahead of him. I mean, his little black book, if you like, must have some real names in there, and he knows a lot of people in the game, and he's got good connections. So our loss is Leeds' game, but I don't blame him. He's got to do the best for himself. Obviously, financially, Leeds will pay him more than we will. I would have thought he'll have a bigger budget to play with. And look what he did with us. So, Leeds could be in for some pretty exciting times. They need it. The whole club needed restructuring. I think Blease will be the first in there to sort that out for them. But yeah, big loss. Obviously, Salford lad. You don't want to see him leave him, but no good luck to him in his new role. Not too much good luck. Like, we don't want him finishing the top 6 this year, but I think within 12 months you'll see a different Leeds Rhinos.
Yeah, obviously, I want to wish him all the best. He's always been great to us on the podcast. Always been making himself available if we wanted to speak to him about, interview him or speak to him about certain things. Yeah, we've grown as a club since he's been involved. Obviously, running the day-to-day side of the football department. Between Paul Rowley and him probably working together to make this club the best it can be. So, Leeds Rhinos have obviously seen what he's done and thought, we've got a bit more money. With what Liam Blease can do, we'll see what we can do at Leeds. And what I say, wish him all the best. I suppose it's a downside of being the opportunity club, but everybody is in the same mix that, if a bigger club comes along and the price is right, then you'll go with our best wishes.
Yeah, that's the thing, and I think when you lose a player, it hurts. You lose a coach, it hurts. I don't think people understand how big a job Ian Blease has done, and how much it could hurt the club. I don't see what goes on day to day, but to bring in the caliber of players we've brought in on the budget we have, I said before, we got 2,800 fans through the turnstile against London. Many of them would have already bought the season ticket before the season started. So how much cash came in that day? Still got to find the money to pay the players to bring in the next lot next year, and that's the big thing for me about recruitment for next year. We're midway through the season. Are we still looking for players? And if so, who negotiates them deals at the moment? How long before we put somebody in place? How qualified is that person? Are they in the same league as Ian Blease at what they did? There's a lot of questions to answer, and they are big shoes to fill now. So yeah, but all the best to Blease. He's, like I say, he's captained the club. He's worked here. He's probably washed the kits at some point. I don't know, but all the best, and not too much good luck. But I think it's a big loss for us.
And it's a big question: who comes in to replace him? Do we go for someone within, someone like Chris Irwin, or somebody who's in the mix when it comes to management of the sort of the business / football department? I think you kind of need somebody, if you're going to be the director of football, who has a foot in both camp, knows how to do business, but also knows how rugby league works. But that's the big decisions that Paul King. He makes them decisions, and he'll have his people around him who are involved in that. And I'm sure, like you say, he'll make the right decision because they do.
Yeah, I mean, one man that'd be good at that job is Paul Rowley. But that would mean him stepping away from being our head coach. And I know we've got a ready-made coach there in Kurt Haggerty. No problem there in him taking over. But I don't want that at the moment. I don't think Rowley's ready for that. I think he's still got a job to do with our first team yet. But it's a tough one. But then if he doesn't step into that role now, somebody's got to. Well, what do you say to them? Well, you've only got it for a short term because this guy's getting the job. It's a tough one. It's a tough sell. And it needs to be somebody who knows the club, because you've got to know what you're working with. budget-wise, before you step into that job and think, oh, I'm going to go and sign so I've got him lined up, I can do this. You're not going to get to do much with 20p in your pocket, to be honest. So yeah, but the future's still exciting. It's a good job for somebody. I'm sure there'll be a lot of applicants trying to get hold of the job.
It'd be interesting to see, like you said, there was talk about Paul Rowley going into that area. And do we want to disrupt the whole structure of the club? Because obviously Paul Rowley and his players have this thing going. We're playing good rugby. Everyone's starting believing in each other. You pull him out of that environment, stick him in the different environment altogether, being the director of rugby, because you're dealing with agents, you're dealing with, sponsors and providers of equipment and stuff. So is he, he's talked about as being a motivator, person who galvanizes everybody. I mean, is that the kind of, do you need that in that role really, or do you need to be the hard-faced kind of like businessman with a bit of rugby league knowledge that that you gets the best results?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I mean, I agree with you. I don't want him to move from being our head coach at the moment. I think the job he's doing is just there for everyone to see, isn't it? And does he want that job? Is that a role that he'd look for? I know when he came back to the club in 2019, he was more looking at the future of the club, the youth, and that sort of setting up the development and where we're at now. And I think that's a role he'd do unbelievably well. So does he want the admin side of it? Is that his strength? I don't know. I don't know the guy well enough to speak on his behalf. So yeah, it's going to be it's a tough decision, but it's one that's going to have to be made fairly quickly because it is such a key role that we can't. Player contracts need to be talked about for the future. Not just new signings, players that are with us now. I mean, Sam Stone, I know we'll talk about it in a bit. Contract there. Well, did Blease do that, or has somebody else stepped in to make that happen? If I don't. But somebody's going to have to get into that job and get into it quick and get to grips with what the task is.
Yeah, going to be fascinating to see what happens next. Talk about Sam Stone, like you said, 2-year extension to his contract, 35 appearances, 10 tries. A bit of an unsung hero for me. Always working hard, quite a durable player. Very rarely misses a game. Just kind of one of our mainstays of our pack, and a Paul Rowley player, a player who likes to work hard and likes to promote the ball when he can.
Yeah, great news, brilliant. I know other clubs were chasing him. Everybody knows his talent. He's still only young as well. I remember when we signed him, and we obviously we got him from Lee, but at the time we had Cal Watkins and Shane Wright in the back row, and I thought that's an interesting one. What's going to happen there? He's made that second row slot his own. I think he's one. Not many players are undroppable, but I think Sam Stone is one. Every single week he's 8 out of 10. You know what you're getting from him, but his skill set is brilliant for a back row. He knows where to be. We've said this before. He scores tries. He knows where to be at what point. I don't know what it is about him. He's got this. I mean, he's try scoring, like you say, there was 10 tries in 30 odd games.
Yeah.
For a back rower, I mean, that's pretty tasty. But he suits us. He's our kind of player, and his work rate is incredible. So yeah, I'm delighted he's stayed. We've had enough players taken from us in recent times, ones that we've picked up from other clubs and turned into the model that we want. I think him and Cal Watkins in the back row is brilliant to watch, and I'm delighted he's staying.
Yeah, very excited about that. Obviously, we're looking to move forward with him in the team. I was thinking then, we talked about Gil Dudson the first time round coming in, and we were all like, Gil Dudson, but took us to a grand final. Played out of his skin in that semi-final against Wigan. You could put Sam Stone in that category, somebody who we looked at and thought, I don't know, but came up, unbelievable performance in the last couple of years.
Yeah, absolutely. No, well, we've done it with a few, Greg Burke, people like that coming into the team, and you think, what are you doing there? I think Sam's always had a bit of talent about him. He's from a rugby league, sort of not dynasty, but his dad was a player and obviously a coach, and he coached at Huddersfield, didn't he? But yeah, he's been brilliant for us. Like I say, he's still only young, so he's got a long way to go. But he's a real talent, and he's one of them players that I've said it a lot of times. It's something that Carl Harrison said, that you need players who you don't notice what they do sometimes. You don't know how hard they work until you take them out of the team, and then you spot that they're not there. And he's one of them, isn't he? Because he's not a shining light in that way. He's not the player that everyone talks about. He's not Mark Sneed. He's not Ryan Brierley. He's just Sam Stone. He gets in there and does his job, and he does his job really, really well. So, yeah, great news for the club.
Yeah. Other news, Parker, Captain's Breakfast is taking place 21st of June, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., £25 a ticket plus VAT. You can meet Paul Bennett, the Salford mayor, and Paul Rowley is there as well. So that'll be good. Two inspirational characters there to discuss stuff over breakfast with.
Yeah, what's for breakfast? Do we know? What's on the menu?
I think it's a bit of everything, by the sound of it.
Okay, well, that's different, but yeah, that'd be good. Good to. I mean, Paul Bennett, we need to, obviously need to stay close to the stadium deals. He seems to be drifting at the moment. We need that sorting, but he's clearly on our side, which is great. A busy time for politicians and councillors at the moment. So yeah, it'd be nice for him to be around. And obviously Rolls. I think Rolls is a man that I've just said that about Stuart Wilkinson. Paul Rowley is a man that I could probably spend day after day with listening to. He's a proper rugby league nut, and I think he probably loves rugby league just slightly less than his family. He's a great man, and it'd be good to sit down and listen to for a bit, and breakfast. Well, yeah, why not? Breakfast, dinner, and tea for me with him.
Also, it says there's a special guest as well, unnamed at the moment, which is always a big tease with these things. So yeah, 21st of June. You watch the players being put through the paces before, and then you have your speakers who are obviously giving you great speeches, and then you have a breakfast sandwich, it says, Parker. So yeah, I was hoping for a big fry up, but breakfast sandwich will do.
Yeah. Well, as long as it's not just a bowl of Weetabix, because that'd be cool, wouldn't it? But yeah, no, great idea. Great chance to meet with people and talk to people. And we say it all the time that as fans at the moment, we don't get enough chance to be together, away from a game day. And this is it's a good chance. But I just love to listen to Paul Rowley anyway. So get up early and get down there and have your brekkie and have a chat with the boss.
Yeah. Other exciting times. I went to the shop in the Lowry last week. Some new gear there, which is exciting. A lot of people in there, not just Salford fans, people buying merch as well from VX3. So the word is getting out, which is great.
Yeah, well, I've been threatening to get down there for the last 2 weeks. I was going last Thursday, but unfortunately, I didn't feel too great and didn't go. I am going to go this week, definitely. I need to pick up some things before I get to Lorette, before the Burpee, the Catalan game. So, yeah, I need to get down there. I need to get one of them Hawaiian shirts. I think they look quality. Yeah. But yeah, no, it's brilliant. It's that identity. It's us being there in people's faces. It's subliminal at times. People will see it and go, "What's that?" And they'll understand that we do exist. We are there. We haven't had a presence for a long time, so even just having the shop is great. But to know that people are using it is the main thing. And obviously get new gear in as we go on. VX3, the more successful it becomes, we'll think, hang on, we're onto a good thing here. Let's keep going, keep bringing new stuff out. And then obviously the turnover of money is great for everybody. So brilliant. I need to get down there. I will be down this week. That's a guarantee. I am going down this week.
Threatening to go down. Don't make me come down there and spend £100.
That's the fear. That is what's going to happen. I think that's what's making me ill. Thinking about spending money. I'm not great at it, but I need to get down there. There's a few bits I need to pick up. So I'll be in this week, giving my card over.
Good. Challenge Cup final last week. Wigan beat Warrington. What do you think of the game, Parker?
The game itself wasn't brilliant. But a lot of the time, cup finals aren't. They're usually tense and a bit nervy. I think Wigan dominated, though. Wigan were much better than a couple of weeks ago. People were going that obviously Warrington did they get the edge when they played their reserves basically against Wigan, and Wigan won by a point. Sam Burgess came out and said, "Oh, it's a win for us." That doesn't count for anything. It really doesn't. They still lost and then went to the cup final and lost again. Wigan are such a strong outfit. Some of their players have been brilliant. They lost Kieran and Dupree during the week to suspensions. They just roll in new players. I mean, the kid that came in the centre was brilliant. There's something about Wigan at the moment. I think a new dynasty started, and I think they're going to be on the top for a while now. I mean, not saying it was an awful game, but it wasn't as exciting as you'd like between them two teams who you think like to play rugby a little bit, and both got real stars. But Warrington were very disappointing, though. I think it reminded me of the performance when they came to our place a few weeks ago.
Mm.
That second half, I felt no threat from Warrington at all, even though we didn't run away with it. I think we had so much of the ball. It was the same for Wigan. You give Wigan the ball, you're going to struggle. You're going to get beat. Simple as that. But yeah, I mean Wigan richly deserved it. They were by far the better team. Bevan French was bang on form, and you don't need that. Certainly not on a big day, on a big pitch. But their forwards laid the platform, and then they've just got their backs that they'll destroy it on the day. And too many Warrington players just either froze or just weren't up for it.
Mm.
But they'll have learnt a lot, Warrington. I think Sam Burgess will learn a lot, and it'll help them in the next few years. A lot of young players in that squad, and who knows, they'll go back next time and they'll know what to do.
With the two Simbins, and the attendance of 67,000, I think it's the biggest since 2017. Is that something to crow about, or are we still upset about the crowds not being massive?
The Simbins, no, rubbish, pathetic. The game's gone soft. Forget that. I'm fed up a bit with these decisions that are getting made. I understand why they're doing it, but no. Can we keep players on the park? I want to see 13 against 13 of the best players in this country going at each other. I don't want people being simbing for silly little things. Players maybe slipping into tackles and catching someone. Well, what's he supposed to? Oh, you don't get out of the way. You can't vanish. These are things. No, they weren't simbings. Anyway, that's my rant.
Just before you jump into the attendances, Parker, did you see the State of Origin sending off where he rocked his head back? And I was like, oh, that hurt. But we want to protect players, don't we? And I don't think you can do that. I think it was a few Australian people talking about it on different podcasts. They were like, this is State of Origin, that's never a sending off. And I was like, doesn't matter whether it's State of Origin, the FA Cup final or the European Cup final, that's still a red card, mate. His head's gone back, rocked back, and that could be serious damage to him.
Whilst I agree, that's one of them incidents though where the player slips as the other player's coming in. If the player stays on his feet, he hits him in the chest. He didn't. He slipped and he caught him in the head. Yeah, with the rules the way they are, but having watched State of Origin for 30 years or whatever, some of the things that players haven't been sent off for, and now this. I think he's only the 5th player in Origin history to be sent off. 5 in that game. This is the biggest game in rugby league for any international, any club game. New South Wales and Queensland is the biggest and best game of rugby league you will see. Right, the most intense. These men are machines. Only 5 of them have been sent off, and he's one of them. But I know you can't do anything to the head. I get it, and people will be shouting at me. Give him a yellow card. Just give him a yellow card. Bring him back on. Let's carry on. The thing is, these days, you have an 18th man. So if your player can't come back on, you've not lost anybody. I agree, back in the day, when you're down to 16 men, the opposition should go down to 16 men. And now you can bring another player in anyway. So what? anyway, that's my rant about that. I did see it. I watched it, and I think from that moment on, was it 7 minutes in, it ruined the game in that way because you're not going to win the game in Origin playing for that long with 12 men. So the series is probably over after the first game.
But you can't do that. I know it's the day of Origin. I know it's the biggest game in the world, but you don't say, right, listen, free pass here. You can take someone's head off just because we are playing Origin. Don't worry about him concussed on the floor, brain damaged. But it's Origin. Don't worry. Can't do that.
But they have done.
Well, they have. Yeah.
So, we're changing it now. Well, I can imagine how the Aussies reacted, most of them, because they like it rough and tough. That's why they're so good at it and we're not. They play the game in a different way. But yeah, look, it is what it is. It's all about opinions, and I like the way the game was. I don't want players getting hurt. Of course I don't. That's not what I'm saying. But sometimes it's an accident. And accidents happen. If he's purposely gone in to do somebody, or he's hit somebody or whatever, off you go, son. There's not much you could have done about that. But anyway,
attendances. What do you think of that?
Well, I think it's very, very. The trouble is at the moment with the cost involved. It's very, very difficult. I've been going to Wembley, as you know, Rob, since I was going every year from 2004 till 2 years ago. I've not been to the last two. And I've seen the crowds dwindle since we went back to the new Wembley. And I looked the other day and think since we went back there, is it only 4 times they've made? 4 times they made something like over 70,000 or something like that. There are problems that sometimes it's the same team making the grand finals, the cup final. So neutrals don't want to go. Some people can't afford to do both. But the cost involved of going to Wembley now. If you want to go down for a weekend, you find a hotel, food, drink, tickets, having a drink in Wembley, that kind of thing. For a family, in these tough times, it's very difficult. The tickets are well priced, don't get me wrong. But it's everything else around it. If you want to get a train anywhere at the moment, it costs you enough. If you want to get a train at short notice within 2 weeks from, say, Manchester down to Euston, it could cost you hundreds. So that's part of the problem. There is an apathy as well with certain clubs not taking fans to big games. That winds me up. But, even last year, there was no excuse. Lee played OKR, 2 teams that don't regularly go to Wembley, and got 50-odd thousand. What? That's not good enough for a cup final. So, was it a decent crowd? It was okay. It was, it didn't look that bad. It doesn't look great when the top tier is shut. But you're forgetting that Wembley holds 90,000 people. People go on about the grand final. We don't fill that, and that's 70-odd. So where are we finding the extra 20-odd thousand people to travel all the way down south? I know it was different in the good old days. We used to get 90,000 at Wembley, in the old Wembley, but it was a lot cheaper, a lot easier. I think at the moment, I think that's the problem we face. I don't think the RFL do any favours, and certainly BBC have let us down this year. Not promoting the game enough. You won't get neutrals involved for that. I don't think the RFL do enough in terms of promoting the cup, because it seems that it's all about Super League every year. In the grand final, that's the big one. We forget what we're missing out on. The heritage of the Challenge Cup for me is it means everything. It is rugby league. It's what everybody's watched growing up. I always when I was a kid, I wanted to play in a cup final. I didn't want to play in a grand final. It didn't exist at the time, or a Premiership final. That was just something else. To go to Wembley, the prestige and everything. That's what I wanted, and it's what I still want for Salford. I know we went the other year, but that didn't count. So yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know what they do. I think the Challenge Cup, and I have planned a podcast around this about what I think we do with the Challenge Cup. It needs rebooting. It needs the structure. It needs redoing. You win 3 games, you're at Wembley. One of them will be against a lower league club, and then it's luck of the draw sort of thing. We don't seem to get luck of the draw most of the last 2 years. We've been away at Old KR in the cup. Well, that's not great, is it? But I think the whole tournament needs a G up because people have lost interest, and I think that starts from. It used to be, the times we've played amateur clubs, we played Cutsyke and Bisons and teams like that, and then you might play Springfield Borough, and then you play Swinton or something. It was a process, a step up. And by the time you got to the quarterfinals, then you were hitting the big boys, but you'd earned your right to get there. I think it's just too easy at the moment for certain teams. And the other thing is the separation between Super League, Championship and League One is massive. The step between them. So I think a restructure and a way of making it more challenging is something that we've got to look at, and it's something that we can talk about at a later date. But I know I've digressed. I think the crowd was okay. Yeah, another 10,000 on top, 70,000 looks better. But I fully understand that if it's going to cost you, you and maybe say it was you, Kate, and the kids to go down to Wembley this weekend, it costs you, four figures maybe. Who knows? No, it's not happening at the moment, unfortunately. You might need longer to plan it between the semi and the final. Maybe that's something you look at. But it's a tough one. I will dig out the fact that Warrington and Wigan are supposedly two of our best supported clubs. But I've seen Leeds there in recent years. Obviously, Saints there. Hull KR last year going about their crowd. I think the biggest crowds I've seen in recent years, like certainly one at Cardiff, but with Hull up in there. So what you let Hull go every year. No, but it's strange that certain teams just don't seem to travel to the final.
Yeah, be fascinating to see what happens with the future of the Challenge Cup. Final bit of news is sad news. Parker, Leeds great. Rob Burrow, unfortunately passed away last week. Inspirational fighting M&D. Unfortunately, it took him. Our thoughts are with his friends and family at this time. Obviously, a really sad moment for everybody who had any kind of acquaintance with him. Obviously, Kevin Sinfield raising all that money for him through charity. Yeah, really sad day.
Yeah, well, I mean, I watched the recent documentary on him on the BBC. That you lost for words. I'll be honest with you. I told some of the other lads. I watched it, and I did have to choke it back. I did shed a few tears watching it. A small guy, but a giant of a man. An absolute. What he went through and the humility and the humour he went through it with, a guy who we remember as this, this bouncing athlete, the absolute nuisance that he was. He played in that great Leeds team. He came through, that youth system, and he was magic to watch. And a proper little character as well. That was the thing. But then struck down by this evil illness. And he became kind of trapped in his own body in many ways. Still there, you could tell he was still there. In his brain, like I say, his humour. He was such a funny character, but he carried on with such dignity. A massive loss for the sport, a massive loss for mankind in many ways, on and off the pitch. Just clearly a brilliant guy, and sad loss. And I thought the tributes that have been paid by everybody, the cup final last week, the FA in the England-Iceland game, it just shows. Even the rugby union at Twickenham at the weekend, they, after 7 minutes, they had like we did at Wembley, they had a round of applause for him. It came on the screen there. Shows that he crossed boundaries. It wasn't just a rugby league thing. It was a whole humanity thing in many ways. And he's he'll never be forgotten, will he? He was a proper nuisance. One thing that always stands out for me was when we played Headingley once, and Ray Cashmere got done for a high tackle on him. How right Ray Cashmere at 6'4" or whatever did a high tackle on Robbie Burrow, He's wondering he didn't miss him. But yeah, and Rob Burrow got up and had a go at him. And that I remember that happening, and I thought, what a character. But yeah, such a loss. Like you say, all our thoughts go to his family, and rest in peace.
Yeah. So that's all the news for this week, Parky. And now we've got, is it Parky's picks or Parky predicts? Which one do you like the best?
You can call it what you like.
Oh.
You call it Parky's ponderings. It doesn't. Yeah. I
Okay.
just hazard a guess at some random scores for the week.
So in that case, it's Parky predicts. So Parky predicts this week. First game of the weekend, Castleford at home to Wigan. Thoughts?
It's a tough. I mean, it's not a tough one in terms of the result. I don't think. I think there can only be one winner. But Wigan might have had a week on the mead, should we say? They might have sampled one or two celebrating at the weekend. I'm sure they did. I'm sure they've had a great little week. But the club will be on high, as it should be. They've won all 4 trophies in the last 12 months. They've got a great squad. That's the other thing. Doesn't matter. Those that didn't play last week can step back in. I mentioned Kieran not playing, and Tyler Dupree, and I mean their squad's unreal, really is. So they'll be on high still. I don't know how much training they've done, but they'll be too strong for Cass. I would have thought. Cass tough at home, but I can't see Cass getting over the top of them. So I'll go. What for he said? I can't even see what I've put down here. Cass 10, Wigan 22.
22. Next game on the list is Hull KR at home to Huddersfield.
Only one winner for me. Only one winner. Hull KR is a horrible place to go if you need to get a win. Huddersfield have been on this run recently, haven't they? I know I think they picked up one win, but they've been very, very average, and I think they are quite average to watch. They're very dull. They don't entertain. It'll take a lot for them to turn Hull KR over at Craven Park, or whatever they call it these days. And Hull KR have been in great form, really have. They're especially at home, they're a really good team to watch. So I can't see any other result. And I think a big Hull KR following, and probably not a very big Huddersfield following, may influence a few decisions as well. So I'm going to go for a fairly convincing Hull KR win. I'm going to go Hull KR 28, Huddersfield 8.
8. Okay, so we'll skip ours till the last one. Moving on, Hull FC are at home to
Leeds.
That's why you predict, and I just
got
him out.
You got me then. I thought, if I got it right. No, because I know where Lee are right now.
Catalan, away.
Yeah. Well, what can you say about these two? I mean, Hull FC. What a balmy club. They're having a shocking season, both on and off the pitch by the looks of it. But they'll get stronger. They'll bring players in, and by the time we play them, if we ever get to play them, I don't know. Someone's hid these games in the fixtures somewhere. How we can have played so many teams twice and not met any Hull once is bizarre, and Catalan. So by the time we get to play Hull, by the way, they will have 13 internationals playing for them. And probably James Lulawine and Fred Argyle come back as well. Look, it's a tough one really, because Leeds aren't any great shakes, but they do pick up the odd win, and I think they're probably in a slightly better place on the pitch than Hull are. So I think it'll be fairly close, but I don't think Hull will have enough. I'll go Hull 12, Leeds 19.
19.
Mm.
Catalan home to Lee.
Yeah, again, another interesting game. This Catalan have been on a shocking run. Really have been poor recently. I know they've had a lot of injuries, and I know that's an issue for them. They played a few away games. Wigan, I think Lee, Saints, maybe only one at home in between. So it's not easy on your travels when you're coming over from France every week, and your whole routine's thrown out. this week at home. I think they'll just have the edge, but Lee will make it tough because Lee are in some good form. They're playing really well. And I believe they're taking 1,500 fans over.
Mm.
So they'll make some noise and they'll be, it'll make it an interesting atmosphere. I think Catalan, the ground there is still going through some development, isn't it? So I don't think it'll be, the big capacity you'd expect. So Lee may have an advantage crowd-wise in some ways, but I can't see past Catalan. I think Catalan at home are a different beast. But I think Lee might push him. I'm going to go Catalan 26, Lee 16.
London Saints.
Well, as game as London are, they're not going to beat Saints, are they? Unless, and it's happened before, Saints go and send an academy down there.
Mm.
But I don't think they will. I think we're looking at a fairly convincing Saints win. Saints need to keep the pressure on Wigan at the top. They'll have Warrington breathing down the neck. If Catalan pick up a win, it's going to get tight at that top four. They need to, finish. You need to finish in the top two. I think is the key. And Saints obviously have got a proud record and want to get that shield back at the end of the season. They'll have a job taken out of Wigan's hands, but yeah, I can't see anything down for London at all. And Saints' defence is unbelievable at times. He's probably the strongest in the league on the day. So I'm going to predict something I don't think I've done this year, and that's the home team to score no points.
Oh.
I'm going to go London 0, Saints 38.
And finally, we're away at Warrington. In it for the Nandos or in it for your reputation?
It's very much like the Castle Wigan game, only Warrington at home. How are Warrington feeling this week?
Mm.
They got a bit battered and bruised at the weekend. They've had the build up, the excitement, and when you lose a big game, you've been to Wembley, you've done the travelling, the change of routine, everything else. Have they got any injuries? Suspensions? I don't know what that means for them. However, they are still a really good team. And they have been playing really well under Sam Burgess. I think there's only a couple of games this year where I've watched them and thought that wasn't very good. One against Wigan, one against us. I don't think they were very good against us at our place. It's tough to say. We've had a week off, sometimes not a great thing. I know a few of the players have been away, getting a bit of sun, so they may come back relaxed. But I have no idea how many players we've got to pick from. Because again, last week against London, we seemed to pick up 2 or 3 more injuries. Are they long term? So I'm going to say there's no Nando's for me. I'm going to go with a Warrington win, just because they're at home and I think they might just bounce back a little bit. Where are we going to go? Warrington 24. How many are we going to score? Salford 14.
14, 24.
Yeah. Don't think we're scoring enough points. I know we scored 30 odd against London, but previous to that, I think there's only once this season we've gone over 30 points. I'd love us to turn them over, and we are capable. Don't get me wrong. And I think if Warrington don't turn up because of the way they're feeling a bit sorry for themselves, they've got a few knocks, whatever, we could easily turn them over on the night, and I could be proved very, very wrong.
Yeah.
But I just think Warrington at home at the moment, the way they've been playing, I just got to go with them.
So that's the end of this pop-up podcast, Parkin. Another great show. Action-packed, all the news, little review of all the games, and then Parky's predicts at the end. We've served up a treat. Yeah, well, one thing I will say is it's never dull being a Salford fan, is it? We've had another week of ups and downs. On the pitch, we've had 4 wins in just over a week for all our teams. Sammy Stone signed in a new deal. Our football director's left. It's just one thing after another. It is the best soap opera out there, without a doubt. You don't need to watch Coronation Street or EastEnders. Just follow, have
a week in the life of Salford Rugby League Club and you'll be entertained. But that's why we love it, and we'd have nothing to talk about otherwise. So yeah, it's been another good week, and there's always plenty to go at.
It's the roller coaster ride of being a Salf fan. We're all always chasing that next endorphin hit. That's what we're doing, Parker. Good or bad, just hit me up. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely.
So, big thanks for joining us on this Devil in the Detail. I've been Ron Parkinson. You can find us on Facebook, Devil in the Detail SRD. You can find us on X at DITDSRD. And you can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Spotify, and rugbyleague.com. See you soon, Reds.